Good afternoon, everyone, or good morning or good evening. I see that we have a very varied group of people coming from all over the world. And it does show that there's a lot of interest in the topics that we're going to be discussing today. We're on an unprecedented journey. Me, myself, in my role at our company, it wasn't the journey that I was expecting to get into. And I can only imagine what life is like in a hotel when a government tells you to shut down or when you just see numbers dropping overnight. James, what would you recommend to your customers that they should do right now? What are the 2 or 3 pieces of advice you'd give them?
Look, I mean, I know we're going to talk about some of the specific topics later. I think the big thing I'm hearing really is around how to work with and mobilize teams remotely. I think anyone who's been on LinkedIn will see a huge thrust of how we're coping with home working. But what I'm seeing, I think it's been an amazing few weeks for the hotel industry. But what I think we're entering now is dare I say it, at least a few weeks of what we should call kind of a new normal. I think initially there was a phase of just sheer panic. I think we realized we'd probably prepared a little bit too late as economies, as an industry, and probably as individual businesses. And then we just went into full on reaction mode and really quick action plans. And I think probably everyone on this call almost day by day has been changing their priorities depending on what the government says in press briefings and what comes out. But the clients I talk to on the hotel side are still doing a lot of work with IHG, chatting with a lot of the smaller chains across Europe as well, is that a lot of the big decisions are kind of done now. Hotels are either closed or they're going to try and stay open. Big renegotiations with obviously kind of mortgage companies and financial institutions, a load of costs pushed back, staff either kind of furloughed or they're going to try and retain. So it feels like a lot of that stuff's been done. Now the theme of the last few weeks has really actually been about family. It's like, okay, so schools are now closed. We've got to balance our work lives and our personal lives. I wonder, as kind of business leaders, actually, how are we going to mobilize our teams again in the next few weeks, which will feel slightly different? The urgency perhaps has gone of just, we've hopefully saved our businesses. And we've got this kind of new world where we're kind of homeschoolers and isolated and trying to keep fit and trying to get food. What are we going to work on? What are we going to work on? So as I look at it, we're doing a lot to help people actually mobilize their teams really around 3 areas. One is kind of objectives. What are we going to get done? 2 is a lot of training and development. So what do we want our teams to know for the next kind of couple of years or certainly for the next few weeks that will be helpful soon? And thirdly is, I suppose, kind of mentorship, which has a couple of angles. One is kind of mental health, which is just we all need to keep talking to each other. But the other is actually more around who's been here before. So are there experts that have been here before in some of these downturns that we've talked about that can help what is, for a lot of us, an incredibly young workforce, and this is their first downturn. So we're really doing a lot of work around those 3 things. And for me, two things are really coming up next. Is one is, as a leadership team, all hoteliers, whether a chain or an independent, now need to decide, well, what do you want to actually get done during this downturn? Because a lot of people will be talking about a fast recovery, but what does that really mean? Is it going to come? And frankly, will we have done what we wanted to do by the time it comes? What's going to make sure that we're not in panic mode again when markets start to recover? So that's one area. And the other is, what experts do you need to bring into your business over the next kind of few days, weeks, months to make that choice? Again, I think it's great. I think we've got 1,000 people on this call right now, but I've been overwhelmed by the kind of passion and responsiveness of just anyone working in travel and willing to give their time, frankly, for free or almost low or zero cost to people who just need help right now, because we're all stuck at home. We all want to do what we can right through the hospitality value chain. So I would urge any hotel team right now to be thinking, 1, what do we want to get done? And 2, who is going to help us? Because I think getting time with people who you probably wouldn't have thought of picking up the phone to before, whether that be revenue management experts, whether that be a technology business, whether that be a management consultant who you've kind of been putting on hold, guaranteed your team won't have all the answers. And that's why I think now more than ever, make it your goal to chat to one new person each week from a new technology business or a new area of the guest journey, or pick up your phone to someone from one of your distributors you've not spoken to. And so it's really about picking the right partners to go on that journey with you. yeah, who are the partners that are going to be running your tech as you come into the upturn, who are going to be supporting your marketing journey. And again, your team will be maybe a different size and it'll have different priorities. But what I think none of us can deny in the last kind of 4 to 8 weeks is how fast we've all moved. You know, we've always said, and Matt, we were saying this at the kind of the October event in Amsterdam, we're a pretty slow moving industry, right? You know, and governments are pretty slow moving. But every day we are, you know, leadership teams are making decisions that 2 months ago, a year ago, would have taken them 6 months to make. And people are rewriting business models, people are laying off teams, people are renegotiating contracts in a matter of hours and days. So I do think that we should try and capture the best of that and think, actually, where do we get that energy from when things start to look up? How can we make sure we're prepared? But before we do any of that, I think what I'm recommending to people is that if this is a new normal, the first thing that probably everyone's team deserve is probably a day off, right? I think before we can kind of think clearly and plan for the upturn, if we're going to be in this new normal where we're going to remobilize our teams, get people excited about where next for our businesses and where next for the recovery, I think everyone probably just needs to take a deep breath, actually take a bit of dedicated time to their family, not feel like they have to be on Zoom or their devices 24/7. Let's actually take a minute and digest how much we've done as an industry in the last few weeks. And then let's start kind of talking about some of the themes, which I think we'll get to next, which is, you know, where next? Let's think more positively. So from my side, I think if you've never actively done it as a hotel, you really need to be compiling kind of, you know, what is there to do around your hotel. I think you need to be telling, you know, if you think about the olden days, the Intercontinentals were really the gateway to the city, right? You need to be the gateway to your domestic destination. There is a reason why there is demand in your location, and you need to be communicating that. So I think one of the things and there's great tools out there, like I know Cool Cousins have now released Unwrapped, which is essentially, you know, you can plug it into your website and it's kind of the 20 coolest things to do around your location. So there's really, really smart partners out there for that stuff. For me, what it links to is probably a complete refresh of your own website. And I think that if you were to honestly play the part of a domestic business traveler or a domestic leisure guest, and you were to go onto your own hotel website right now, would you buy your product? Because most of our websites have been built for search and booking, right? And maybe finding the hotel. None of our websites have really been built to drive, you know, knowledge of the area or a true experience. And for me, you were joking, Matt, about kind of what you can do while you're working from home. You know, that's all cloud-based, right? Everyone across your hotel team could make that your priority to have an amazing direct experience in terms of kind of booking and that customer experience. And I think having staycation there as a theme linked to revenue management, so linked to the right offers, the right pricing. But for me, really being a billboard for your location should be the job of your hotel, and that's how you'll get the eyeballs turning into bookings domestically. I'd also say that depending on what you want to do with that website, if you want to do something like add gift vouchers, or if you want to do something like add the live booking of your meeting space, you know, a couple of these things that I think will really appeal to domestic markets, often those providers will help you white label that chunk of your website as well, right? So they will actually help create a landing page for, you know, your meeting space, for you know, your gift voucher kind of sales. So don't ever feel like you're alone on this stuff. Like everything else, it's like, now's the time to think, actually, how would I even do that? Reach out to a couple of people who know the partners in that particular space, who can help you shortlist the kind of people who might work, and put a couple of them to the test, because now's the time. Everyone's saying, look, try our product for a couple of months. You know, now's the time to kind of get out there and try new things. Whatever you may think of their actions right now, Booking.com will also come back fighting for market share when there's an uptake here. Yeah. So I wouldn't suggest to any hotels that they try and switch off or neglect that channel. You know, when demand comes back, a lot of consumers will be shopping for value. They will be trying to, you know, have a look at the market in particular locations. They may even be fairly flexible on what location they go to. Booking.com and Expedia, you can guarantee, will lead the way on what are the safest locations, what hotels have availability. So you need to be in that shop window. You need to be on that shelf if you want to capture that demand as it bounces back. So I wouldn't recommend any knee-jerk reactions in frustration of where they're at right now. it also will massively depend on your micro location, right? So I think it's one thing to come on these big calls and talk about general trends, and a lot of this is guesswork. I would guess exactly what you say, Matt, which is, hey, it'll be the younger, more resilient, maybe living alone generation. But equally, I can think of a ton of families out there that are now desperate to get away. I can think of a lot of business travel, pent up demand for meeting and getting going. So we really don't know. But again, I think, think about what we're kind of hearing on this call. Reach out to some of these partners and consultants you're seeing on LinkedIn. Thibault, you're a great example. We put together an ebook of partners that are the best to help right now in a crisis, and Catalan Consulting kind of spiked as one of the top ones, because he'll grab an hour with you and talk about your hotel. What data do you have? What decisions do you need to make? What can you spot coming up for your property? That's where you get the insight. And so, only your expertise plus a bit of data around your micro location plus spotting what's going on for your property, that's what's going to help. So don't stop at the end of this call. Reach out to some the kind of discussions you're seeing on LinkedIn forums, and see you'll have half an hour with your team to talk about marketing, revenue management, sales, finding customers as you look to recovery. Yeah, look, I think for a lot of the newer players in that space, the downturn just came at absolutely the wrong time. I think a lot of them are more like an independent hotel in that they're very focused in one location, which so, if you're a Northern Italy player and then you get locked down, you're in big trouble. I think also a lot of them are financially were kind of burning cash, and so to suddenly have demand dry up overnight was not certainly not in the pitch decks. Look, I think the response will depend whether you're leasing your own units or whether you're, taking a management fee on other people's. The clients I've been working with that have a management fee model, they're doing okay, because obviously the hosts understand where it's at, and you're effectively using someone else's kind of mortgage or rent to fill your property. There, it's exactly like the hotel industry. It's just about cost reduction. It's about thinking actually is now the time to have more of a direct proposition. A lot of thinking about community response. They're also out there supporting healthcare workers, supporting kind of coronavirus lockdown. Sonder obviously is unfortunately a different beast, highly leveraged. I thought Francis Davidson, the CEO, put out a fantastic long memo yesterday. If you haven't read it, go and read it, about how to handle a downturn, which is you just very rapidly get into rent reduction discussions, just push those costs out as far as you can. And you try and support the local community. I thought the Sonder move to longer stays as people are in isolation. Again, you've got clean, safe, fully functioning apartments, in a way better than a hotel room if you're going to be stuck somewhere for 3 weeks plus. So there's no magic bullet in that at all. I think and actually I've seen Sonder do some of the best stuff. I think that's another one that did what I think I'm pushing everyone to do: gift vouchers, get the money now and redeem it later. I see Sonder have done a kind of Sonder credits thing as well. So if your hotel doesn't have some kind of gift voucher credit system, I think that's another way to go. Right. I think they'll bounce back, because I think that people are really attracted to that type of accommodation for those longer holidays, for those groups. I think that's a segment that's growing, and it's here to stay. But I think that there'll be a lot of smaller players that probably weren't prepared for a downturn, a lot of young leadership. So I expect on the macro scheme, you'll see some consolidation if the investors don't get too nervous.